Small town, only 100,000 people. Those 100,000 people may be different in many ways, but there's one thing that brings them all together. The Green Bay Packers. In Titletown, the blue-collar city only knows hard work, tailgating, championships, but more importantly, they know family.
We have a saying in this town: faith, family, and the Green Bay Packers are all that you need. Sanjay and I grew up in Green Bay. You could say that we are Green Bay, or even better, the voices of Green Bay. We bring a local feel of Packer fandom to a worldwide audience.
Friendship, family, and football.
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is the Freezer Podcast.
What is up? We are back. This is the Freezer Podcast, where we bring you a local feel of Packer fandom to a worldwide audience. I'm Sanjay, and alongside me, like always, is Matt and Fred. And we are live here in our home studios, brought to you by Game On Wisconsin, brought to you by Sweep Studios. And it is a victory Tuesday once again. A playoff victory Tuesday, which is great to say. We were kind of absent last year, and now we're back in the playoffs, and now on to the next round. The divisional round against familiar foe, the 49ers. We'll talk about that later. But what a mollywhopping in Big D.
Mollywhopping. Nice.
A big statement made by Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. And boys, I got to eat some crow. I really do. This team proved me wrong once again. I picked them to lose because I got a little
At the stage, buddy.
all right. I got it. I got a little scared. I was a little nervous. Hey, Big D, like it's Dak, it's CD. They're the number one combo in the NFL. They have all these records. They're all pros. They have like 9 of them, right? And I thought, well, you know what? It's Joe Barry. I think it's Jordan Love he's good, but is he that good? And then I kept looking at my family. I'm like, I was in just disbelief the entire game. I couldn't believe what kind of performance we had. I owe everybody an apology. It is what it is. When you make these realistic picks, and I wasn't the only one. Let's just be honest. Well, I'm not the only one. There's plenty of people in the media that were all picking Dallas. So I feel like I'm one of them. If you're gonna get mad at me, get mad at everybody else, right? It's not like I'm the only human being that picked Dallas, right? Like, let's just be honest here. Let's be totally.
I think you saying that you could be compared to the media is almost worse than calling what it was, man. Like, don't lump yourself in with the media. Like,
I'm not. But just like I'm trying to say, like, look, I'm not the only one. Okay,
hey, listen.
I looked at facts. I looked at the facts. I looked at the things that were in front of me, and I said, "There's one thing you can never count on: is that grit, that hard work, that dedication, the love, the camaraderie, the brotherhood. Like that, you can't compare. Because I mean, clearly,
and honest,
and the redness,
you can't count on that, and you can't count on you either. Of being a good fan.
That's probably the biggest thing right there.
Because realistically, you want to sugarcoat this and dilly dally and mollywop your own way around town.
Oh, look at that! See, I'm trending. I'm a trendsetter. Look at you using my own phrases.
The truth of the matter is you don't pick good, and we won.
Well,
and you look like
correctly.
Well, I'm just saying you look like a turd, so it is what it is.
We're all wearing hats today, okay? Because this is apparently winter hat day. So
because it's pretty negative 400 degrees out, and that's why.
Yeah. All right. So,
but anyway, Matt,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Matt, where was your head the entire game? I mean, I know we were all. I think everybody was a little shocked, but on a scale of 1 to 10, like, where did you see this game going versus how it actually happened?
Well, I mean, you know me, I'm always optimistic about the Packers, and I did pick them to win. I mean, I thought there was a path to victory there. I didn't think it'd come in the form of an ass kicking, like thorough ass kicking throughout the entire game. I thought maybe if they won the game, it would be a shootout, and it would be, field goal. I think I picked them to win, by a field goal in the end, but to see them up at some point 27-0, and really 48-16,
like, I'm going with
that's unbelievable. And the whole time I was like, this isn't real. This isn't happening. Like the floor is going to fall out. Like the wheels are going to come off. Like what is it going to happen? And it never really did. And I know it got kind of tight there at the end, but it wasn't until the last couple of minutes. And I think maybe I probably rose my blood pressure more than I should have in that scenario. And we can thank, LaFleur for pulling all the guys out and putting them back in. But I didn't think this was possible. And they proved me wrong, man. I mean, they looked like, something entirely different that we haven't seen. And really, maybe we should have seen it coming. I mean, this team has been trending in this direction here for the last 2 months now, and frankly, Jordan Love, by not just our own opinions and whatnot, by stats, like Jordan Love being the best quarterback in the NFL in the last several weeks. So, these are the kind of games you're going to remember for a long time. You're going to remember where you were. You're going to remember how it made you feel. Like when Savage pick six, I don't think I've yelled that loud watching a game in my house in years. I mean, I was up screaming, like my voice hurt after that one. I mean, that's when it felt like, okay, this is real. This is actually happening. And even after that, I still was kind of feeling like, well, when is it gonna happen? But I don't know, man. I mean, that was an all-timer for me. And I just gotta say that the only thing better would have been if we all had been together to experience that together. So that was a blast to watch.
Did you guys have superstitions in the game? Like, did you like change different areas where you sat during like different? Like, I was like on offense, I was like up by the TV. On defense, I was sitting in the back because I'm like, what is Joe Barry gonna do? What is he gonna do? He's gonna find a way to like let these guys march down the field. Blah 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 blah. And yeah, I had these like little weird superstitions the whole time, and everybody was sitting in the same spots in their couch. That's kind of how we were running in our house.
Yeah, so we did it a little different. I mean, both our kids were gone, so Amanda was like, "Hey, let's go get some wings and watch the game." And I woke up on Sunday with this really easy, calm feeling. Like I wasn't really thinking about the game, honestly. Like I didn't. It didn't cross my mind. I knew it was coming, obviously, but it wasn't like other years where I've probably woken up consumed and like, oh my gosh, running through everything in my brain. And I didn't. I was very calm. And she was like, "Let's go get wings and a beer and watch." And I'm like, we can watch the first half, then head home. We were close enough. We did that. And I feel like we should do that forever because that
what
was
are your children doing on a Packer game? Like, what? I'm sorry, they have better things to do than watch the Packers. I can understand Charlie.
Okay, so Ethan went and watched the game with a bunch of his friends.
Oh, okay, all right. So he's at least watching.
Charlie got last second invited to a birthday party, and I told the guy, I said, "Bro, you can't have a birthday party during the Packer game. I'm not gonna."
Poor planning.
I'm not gonna pick him up. And well, he's a Lions fan. And he's like, "Yeah, I kind of figured that." So he's like, "I'll give him a ride home." So shout out to them for that. But it was just bizarre, like super bizarre, and yet not bizarre at all. In the same time, it was super strange because it was a feeling of like, yes, this is what we can do when Aaron Jones is running the ball great and Jordan Love is playing the way he is. Savage interception was a bizarro thing, but to me it felt like
made a good play.
And I don't want to give a ton of I shouldn't credit, I guess, the Cowboys because I think they were fugazi. I don't think they were legitimately as good as everyone thought they were, but I do think it was the best team that we defeated and single-handedly defeated, right? Like we talk about the Chiefs win a lot, but let's be real, the Chiefs aren't who the Chiefs have been. The Chargers, Sanjay being the key and just dissecting all those wins to make them not worthy. This one was worthy. I mean, we're talking Micah Parsons, we're talking Dak Prescott, we're talking CeeDee Lamb, we're talking, would you say 9, 10, 11, 12, Pro Bowlers in their house. It felt like every card could be stacked against us. And that worked out really well to our favor because everyone overlooked us, including the media. And I don't think anyone realized that when this team is humming behind LaFleur's system, which I think we finally are starting to get that fully envisioned in front of us, this team can be something. And who's
they are something.
Go.
I think
that's the thing.
I think they had the same mentality as you, Fred, maybe minus the wings. They were calm, cool, and collected, and they were not sweating anything because we talked about it last week, and this was house money to the truest form. And they played loose and free the entire game. I mean, Matt LaFleur was in his bag. He had Jordan Love doing whatever he needed to do. Jordan Love was making every pass he could. I mean, I think from the jump, that first drive, like they basically went what? There's a couple stuffed runs, and then they got that penalty on the illegal
penalty was
contact,
huge.
and then from there it was on, and they took what 7 or 8 minutes off the clock in the first quarter, went down, got 7, and then get a stop and come right back down and do it again. Like Dallas didn't know what hit him in the face, and when you're hearing all week long, oh well, 16 straight at AT&T Stadium, you know, Nick Wright said something about how this is better than a bye week for the Cowboys. It's just like, are you guys fucking joking me? Like, I mean, how many times have you had these scenarios pop up where you got some juggernaut, you know, David and Goliath moment, and it's David that comes out on top, and that's what this was. And maybe it wasn't even that, because I think the Packers are much better than everybody gives them credit for. And people in the chat saying the same thing. It's like, this team is going to be dangerous for a long time, assuming they can kind of keep this core together and they can continue to grow, because they're already paying dividends right now, and they're in year 1. This is supposed to be like a learning year, and here we are 2 games from the Super Bowl. It's wild.
Well, we talked about, I mean, I mentioned it last week. I mean, a big part of why we're successful offensively is because we're allowing, and defensively, I guess, and vice versa, is we're allowing our offense to have those long drives, right? So that's why our defense is so successful. Sorry, I'm having trouble talking today. But that, to me, is why it's been so successful. And then our offense having these incredibly long drives, I mean, methodical, long 10-year drives are so successful in the NFL, because the defense obviously being tired, it allows your own defense to recover. It's just demoting to players, right? Like, you're out there and you can't stop them, and it's chunk yard after chunk yard. And, you know, if you're a defensive lineman, it's just debilitating almost, to the point where you're like, okay, like I got to go again. And then we're not doing anything. We're not making any stops. And it just feels like when our offense is out there, it's just control. It's almost the feeling, and it's not the feeling, but it's almost the feeling that I had in early Rodgers eras, where like we would go out and I was like, we're getting points every drive, whether it's a field goal or touchdown. And I don't want to jinx it. I'm not trying to say that's what it is, but that game specifically, I mean, it looked like Jordan Love could do anything he wanted and whenever he wanted to do it.
I think we got to tip the hat to the defense, though, too, because they did give us the ball back in that huge, you know, in the red zone, obviously, with Jair's pick, obviously, you know, Darnell Savage with his pick 6, but then stopping them, too. I mean, the first 2 drives that they had, having them punt, like, that's pretty, you know, pretty huge, I guess, in the sense of just like, hey, look, we did our job. I know you guys were thinking that we were not going to be able to stop this offense, that we were going to just get, you know, make this a shootout, whatever it is, but they were able to make some stops too. And I think, you know, as much as it pains me to say Joe Barry did a great job, he did. I mean, he frankly, you know, made Dak Prescott basically confused. And I don't know really what the issue was with him and CD and, like, you know, his receivers, and maybe he just was having a bad game, because his throws were bad too. Like, his throws were just in the dirt, over his head, you know, outside their hands or whatever. But maybe it was just a combination of everything. But
and
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Like, we're gonna have a game like that. We might go out against
the Giants game, honestly. I mean, if you
and
go
even
back
though
to
we're as good as we are right now, and we obviously are trending up and we're all excited, there's a very good chance we could go out against San Francisco and look so bad because we're just not clicking. We're not there. And then we're going to go right back down to like the, oh my gosh, we're terrible. But that's, you know, Dallas, like, that's not who Dallas is, but yet kind of is who Dallas is, right? I mean, the playoff blunder, the failing in the big moments, that's Dallas. But that team, it was not the same team we'd seen the entire season, where Dak looked super comfortable. CD was just killing people. The only thing that I thought really looked great for them, and that leads into my fear of next week, was I thought Jake Ferguson looked fantastic, and he's becoming an ascending tight end. And, you know, that tight end world scares me, especially when we go with San Fran, where Kittle has had his, you know, his fair share of kicking our ass here and there. So,
well, I mean, honestly, let's just dive right into it. I mean, Jordan Love obviously had the performance of the day with Aaron Jones. I feel like it's kind of like a tie, but I know we're going to probably lean more to Jordan Love just because he's, you know, doing it from his, you know, with his arm. But, you know, yeah, you got to give a shout out to Aaron Jones, who literally, I mean, I've seen, if you haven't seen that video of Jaden Reed kind of saying, like, you know, he'll play for him, you know, he does work hard for, like, that. shows me that he's the heart and soul of this team. And I think Jordan Love knows that. And I think that's why you don't see him as vocal as, maybe that we've seen from other like quarterbacks or whatever, because he's kind of like, look, the offensive leader here is probably Aaron Jones, and probably the team leader is
Guaranteed.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
And you can see how this, and I said it for weeks now, that the offense revolves around Aaron Jones. And I told you from the get-go, I would put Aaron Jones in the same conversation as Christian McCaffrey. You can see what this
100%.
guy does, and I don't think we pass it to him enough. Honestly, I don't think we pass it enough, but it's fine, whatever. But you give an offensive line like this to Aaron Jones, and the fact that his vision is just 1,000 times better than AJ Dillon's, and he can see these holes, and he just runs with a purpose, runs with heart, runs with desire to get extra yards. It just shows. And last night on Sunday night, that was just kind of a display right there. And I think that's kind of what we need to keep focusing on, using Aaron Jones in that manner, because now it's a little bit different because they have a really good linebacker in Fred Warner, and they have Keenlaw, they have I forget who else they have. No, Greenlaw, sorry. And then who else is their linebacker? They have a pretty good crew over there in their front seven. So it might be a little bit tougher task compared to Dallas. But that was the one thing that kind of worried me too is, yes, was this a spanking of the Dallas Cowboys? Of course it was. But also, was Dallas ever that good? That's another thing too, because, I'm not trying to take away from us. Like, I think we are a good team, but how good really was Dallas from this, from the get-go?
Well, Jordan Love and, the offensive line, Aaron Jones, that entire offense, they deserve all the credit they're getting. But I think somebody who deserves more at this point is Matt LaFleur, man. I mean, he had Dan Quinn in hell. I mean, Dan Quinn had no idea what defense to call, where that was coming from. I think I heard today some statistic where we were under center like 60% of the time. I mean, I go back to when he was hired on, talking about the illusion of complexity, running multiple plays out of the same formation. You think it's run, but it's a pass, or vice versa. And I think that the last month, really, in this game, that's been on display. I mean, teams are trying to figure out where it's coming from. And when you have
he ran the same play as the Bears game,
absolutely
that Musgrave play, and he said he brought that back. Like, that's the same thing.
When you have so I think it's finally becoming more of a national conversation where Matt LaFleur is getting credit, because we all said it when we traded away Aaron Rodgers. We're going to finally see kind of what the Matt LaFleur offense is. And Kyle Shanahan today, if you saw his press conference, he's kind of said the same thing. Like, we're finally seeing what Matt's really wanted to do. You're kind of seeing the offense he's intended to run, minus the Aaron Rodgers injection. So I love that he's getting some accolades out of this game. But you're right. Aaron Jones, I think, is the heart and soul of this team. That Jaden Reed clip is really cool to see him kind of going up to him saying he wants to play for him. When he's running hard and he's churning out those 7, 8, 9, 10-yard runs consistently, this offense is a juggernaut. They're much different. And, I don't know what's going to happen with AJ Dillon, but if he's out again, that's fine, because it just, again, keeps LaFleur having to give.
I kind of want him out. I kind of do.
I know. Like,
I don't want them reverting back to this. Oh, we need to split the carries. We need to give it because he's just a force. Is he a force? Because he's not. He's just a big lug that just somehow just gets tackled with the shoestring tackle within 2 yards. I sometimes he's gotten a lot better, I will say, in the second half of the season. He carried the load when Aaron Jones was gone, and I appreciate that. But you just can't mimic what
it's
Aaron
night
Jones
and day.
does.
It's night and day.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, I like him and all those good things too, but you read the room, man. Like, Aaron Jones is on fire right now. I mean, 5+ yards a carry, 100+ yards. I mean, and we haven't even, I don't think, tapped what we're supposed to get into with him yet.
No.
But to go back again a little bit, what we were talking about, I mean, Matt LaFleur's offense is everything that I was hoping it was going to be. It took some time. We got to see stupid little wrinkles of it when Rodgers was here. We were a little impatient early on in the season, even mid-season, but I see kind of what's going on right now. And something that I love the most about this offense, beyond anything else, it's not the LaFleur, it's not Jordan Love, it's not Aaron Jones. It's the entirety of the offense. It's whoever's ready to go is ready to go, and they're going to go do it, right? So we go into this week, everyone's buying up Bo Melton jerseys and Jaden Reed jerseys because they're super hyped. Neither of them, I think they had one catch between the two of them, but that's okay, because Romeo decides, I'm going to go have myself a game, and I'm going to go get
5 or 6 for
yards.
151.
Like that, like after a lot of you wrote him off. A lot of people in the world wrote off Romeo.
You didn't put him in your top 3. Nobody had him in their top 3, right?
Yeah, he's not even.
I did.
He's probably not a big
You'll spit against
deal.
the Packers.
We're all hyped up on everybody else. So to see how other guys are stepping up in the absence, if you will, of other guys,
Right.
because let's be honest, not every week is a guy going to be dominant. We don't have a Justin Jefferson or the Jerry Rices or Calvin Johnsons
Which we don't
of the
need
world.
to.
We don't need them, and that's okay. But that's my point, is that when the guys who are maybe expected to do better aren't doing what they should be doing, it's not because they're terrible or they're horrible, they should bench them. It's because
Right.
other guys are stepping up. So to see that, to see, you know, a Musgrave kind of get back into the mix of things. I mean, that right there, the Musgrave Kraft situation is a huge, 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 huge matchup problem for anyone that we face for the rest of this year and for the future coming up. And they're going to be stressed about it, because right now, how do you cover both of them? They're so unique and so versatile. You can't put anyone on Aaron Jones because he's the most versatile. You know, he's a little bit more versatile almost to me than Christian McCaffrey, just because I think his elusiveness and quickness is faster than McCaffrey. And I'm probably splitting hairs there, but to me, when I watch him run, it's a different quickness, right? There's different levels of quickness. And you like, how do you cover that? And then you look at all these receivers. I mean, San Fran's secondary is not where it should be.
No.
Their defensive line is good,
No.
but it doesn't really matter when you have as many weapons in motion, and then you're doing those things like LaFleur's doing, where you're lining up, you know, in full 12, and you got two tight ends, and you got motion coming this way and then the other way. Aaron Jones runs this way. Like, it is poetry rewatching that game and watching some of those plays unfold.
And let's give some love to the big boys up front, because none of this is possible unless those guys aren't blocking their asses off. I mean, did anybody hear Micah Parsons' name the entire game outside of those couple of holding calls? I mean, he was a non-factor, which is unbelievable. This guy's an all-world talent. I mean, we fully expected him to have some type of presence throughout the game, and really just didn't. And DeMarcus Lawrence, other than stuffing, I think, Aaron Jones in the first drive, also was kind of a non-factor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Rasheed Walker, you know, Zach Tom, you know, you want to go, you know, Johnny Runyon, you know, Myers, and I'm forgetting somebody right now because I haven't. Elton Jenkins, good God. I mean, up and down the line, I mean, these guys are dominating up front, and they're putting up, you know, a really respectful numbers against big names. So one of the biggest concerns going into next week against the Niners is they have Bosa, you know, Chase Young, etc. So having done that against those guys, it's got to make you feel somewhat better about, you know, having to face off against those guys too.
The biggest story. I think the tackles for sure.
Yeah, I saw something, and I don't know, maybe it was Kurt Benkert who did it, which, by the way, love what he's doing. Love watching.
He's been great.
Pocket presence. Go check him out.
Yeah, he came out and did. I love it. I follow him very much. He's awesome. But I think it was him who was talking about, or maybe it was Orlovsky. You know, I love Orlovsky. I know a lot of people don't like Orlovsky, but it was one of those two.
I don't mind him.
And they were, whoever it was talking about how throughout the entire game, we were running misdirection at Micah Parsons to basically confuse him constantly. So when the play actually was coming his way, or he needed to do something to elude or to set edge or whatever, he never knew what was going on, because every play, albeit like if we were going to go post to the left or whatever, they would run a play action right at him. So he would get so confused that it would just open up these, like, and I know that's me
brilliant game plan,
idiot trying to explain it, but it was fascinating, because I was like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. I know that
that's
a lot of
the
times
chess match
because
within the game, right?
Everybody probably wants to go away from him, like, you know, like that's probably the mindset.
Yeah, and everybody has their kind of play set, their mindset, their way of, like, you know, messing with people. It's a chess match. They call a play here to set up a play there. I get all that. So, like, that's normal talk. The fact that, like, the entire game plan was to F with Micah Parsons is genius. And I wonder if they're going to take that same approach then with Bosa or Fred Werner, whatever one they want to do there. But I just thought, man, like, what a different level of thought process to be like, hey, we're not going to run away from them. We're not going to put an extra blocker there. We're not going to do all the things that maybe have been done for the last 70 years. We're going to actually just make everything appear as though it's going to you, and it's not. Like, tip my hat to LaFleur again for that. Yeah, and that was just impressive.
And to go back to the receivers too, like, I think I even saw someone, I think Peter Bukowski posted that someone was like, hey, we should trade for, you know, AJ Brown, but it's like, you're going to see this wide receiving crew.
No thanks.
Like, mature together, right? You're going to see Jordan Love spread the ball.
So like,
Right, exactly. Like you're going to see him spread the ball to all these guys to get him all the confidence in the world. I mean, I think that whole clip of Aaron Jones, you know, motivating Wicks to do better. Like obviously because he had that one bad game where he had a couple drops. It's like he doesn't probably become the guy that he is if he doesn't get more chances, right? Because if he gets clogged on the depth chart because you have a AJ Brown or Justin Jefferson, whatever it is, at the top, like obviously guys like Wicks, Melton, maybe even Reed don't get to see the playing field that much, especially if you're going to run a lot of 12 personnel. The fact that obviously Christian Watson, it was great to see him out there, but
As
obviously he was
decoy,
just
and it worked.
he was a big
He
decoy. I
did
mean, there was a
exactly what you
couple
wanted him to
screenshots
do
of him
last
having
week.
like 3 people on
Yep.
him, and he is such a factor. And I said that from the beginning. If he's in the
Yeah.
game, they're going to factor him in because he's so fast and so big that they have to figure out, okay, are we going to put 1 or 2 guys? And we saw 3 people on him, and that was nuts. And to be honest with you, if he can just be there again, just as a decoy again,
Yeah.
the sky's the limit. Because like we said, I think it was 2 catches between Watson, Bo Melton, and Reed, because we didn't have any.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. Out of your 6 receivers that
Well-
you potentially have, and 3 of them only get 2 catches. That's kind of crazy.
And I think that's an absolute testament to this team, this offense,
The
wide
offense,
receiver coaches,
the offense,
LaFleur,
yeah.
everything. I mean, you talk about bringing in, I think that would be absolutely terrible to bring in anybody else.
Right at this
Because
point,
right now the chemistry in that locker room is unlike something we've had for a very long time. I would
Right.
say maybe like for
Matt's
second
gonna
year
have to pick a
Rodgers.
different position at draft time. He's gonna have to go.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
over
gonna
it.
have to
I'm good.
Well, you don't need, like, that's the thing. Like, you can't
Safety.
look at the situation and be like, oh, we should bring in AJ Brown because, like, of the chemistry thing. You look at Jordan Love, 284, 219, 256, 316, 272, all plus 60%. There's 74%, 84%, 76% completion. Like, that doesn't scream, oh no, we need a receiver. That screams we're doing what we need to be doing. And I think it would be a travesty if we thought about doing anything.
Yeah, they don't need it. And at this point, it's like, I can't believe that a year later, as much bitching I did about the receiving room, and for good reason, that
Yeah, right.
12 months
Nobody
later,
knew.
I don't even have to think about it anymore. The reason it's working is because you don't have a number one guy, a guy you got to get the ball
Exactly.
to. I mean, that's part of the problem, I think, maybe with the Cowboys. It's like they're trying to get Dak the ball. I mean, sorry, Dak, but
That's
CD
why
the
that
ball.
Savage
because
happened.
CD
Like that Savage
Exactly.
interception
Trying to force him the ball. He was complaining and whining about it. It's like,
the
that's what
sideline,
happens.
yep.
And so Jordan Love just playing the offense, finding the open guy every once in a while, hitting an off-schedule throw. I mean, I can't believe all these passes he throws off his back foot and he's just throwing missiles to people. It's pretty wild. But yeah, I think the reason this is working is because you don't know who it's going to, and you can't predict who's gonna be the featured guy.
And I hope that this receiving core and Jordan Love kind of like learn that, because he's been talking about it, right? Having the guys over, having guys come at camp like in the offseason and throw. I want these guys to learn together. Obviously, I get it. Everybody wants to eat and they want to make money too, and eventually
Yep.
that's a problem down the road for us. But for
Yep.
now, I really hope that they can all learn that, like, look, this doesn't need to be you today. This doesn't have to be you today. Like, let's do this and let's just go win championships together, because that's more important, and we'll go down in history as maybe the greatest offense. Like, maybe we'll be the greatest show on turf. Who knows? Whatever it might be. Those are kind of the conversations I hope they have, because the sky's the limit for them. So huge, props to the offense. Obviously, they got everything done that they were supposed to. And, the defense too. I mean, honestly, like Jair playing like a baller. I hope he's okay. Obviously, it's kind of sucks to see him get injured, but he was walking around on the field after the game, and then he walked around in the locker room. So I hope he's more just hey, I'm not going to practice. I'm just going to ice up, and hopefully he's ready to go for Sunday. It's at least nice and warm in San Francisco, so at least he doesn't have to worry about the cold.
Joe said in the chat about the Adams thing, and I got clapped many times during that season for going, it's not a healthy thing that Aaron Rodgers targets Devontae Adams 20 times a game. Like, that's just not the way to do anything. And I know in a game in October it looks great, but when you have to get in the playoffs, teams are smart enough to figure that out, and that's why they lost. It's like, but
and that's
now
why
they don't
Kyle
have
Shanahan said that, and that's why Joey Bosa is saying that. There's making these shots at Aaron Rodgers because he wouldn't follow the system. And yeah, sometimes that works out. Like when you make a couple plays where you're like, I'm going to go outside the box here, and then I'm going to make my own play. And sometimes that would work. But when you do that constantly, and then you go outside the system that you're trying to implement, and then you just single out one guy the whole time, you make it pretty easy for the defense to figure out who you are.
Yeah, you knew as a defensive coordinator, it was 1, 2, and 3. It was Adams, Lewis, Cobb, or Adams, Cobb, Lewis, that he would always look. So you could, a little bit of Lazard at the end, but you could easily just play your defense to defend that. It was
You
so
cannot-
simple and so
you
simplistic.
Cannot do that against this team now. Like now, you need to figure out where you're going to put everybody. And if they want to run man on us, go be it. Because I wish you luck. Because honestly, I don't know how many people you have in your secondary or in your linebacking core to cover everybody. And if Greenlaw doesn't go, that's a very, very big problem for them.
Yeah. So defensively, there's a couple things I wanted to point out, and that was Keyshawn Nixon defensively having a great game. 11
Great song, by the way.
It is a
11
great song.
tackles and a sack. So I thought he played super well. Quay ran like crazy again. He is becoming quietly one of the best defenders in the NFL without a lot of people talking about it, I think.
Yep.
And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was again, I mean, where you at, Bane? Where you at? I need him.
Maybe he comes. Maybe he eats this week.
We're not going to win this week without Gary doing something. He's got to make a play.
He didn't do anything last week, and he did something. So
absolutely, but I don't think we can get away with it again. I don't think San Francisco is going to play.
I think he's a factor. Like he obviously people figure him out. Like he has to he is rushing. It's not like he's doing nothing when he's going out there.
He has to be accounted for. It's obviously opened up the ability for like the Kenny Clarks and the Lucas Van Nesses, I think, to make some of the plays we're seeing them make.
Yeah.
So it's not that he's not doing anything, but I would like to see him do something Bosa, Garrett, like take over a game. Like put the fear of everything into Purdy, slam him down once, hit him again, and that's it. Like I just feel
especially
like
with Enikbari out now,
deal.
which pour one out for the guy.
Well,
had a
that's
great season.
Yeah.
Brendan Cox getting that time up maybe, and maybe we see more Lucas Van Ness getting more snaps. That's huge. Obviously, this is just the next man up mentality, like what you said, Fred. Like this team is different. Like this team, it doesn't matter who's out. Like they're just gonna say, screw it. We're going to go play. We're going to do our type of defense or offense, whatever it is. We're just going to go do it. And I know you're going to say this, Fred, and I'm just going to get this out of the way right away.
Okay, here we go.
Andres Carlson. I know you guys want to. Brandon Aubrey never missed a kick, and then he missed one. So don't give him any crap. That's all I have to say. Brandon Aubrey missed 0 kicks this season, and then he missed one. And then, we're gonna just get on Andres Carlson. You know what? I'm not gonna say anything else. He's the greatest kicker of all time. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna go in Packers Hall of Fame at some point. He's gonna have the most points in history of the Packers. Blah blah blah. I'm gonna mark my words.
No,
all right.
That's a little out of control. There's no way that's gonna happen. But I mean, I'm not like it is what it is. Just as long as he doesn't lose us a game.
He didn't though.
Like if we, I know, but I'm saying if it's
he made the rest
high game against the Niners and we have a chance to kick it to win, and he bonks it, then
here's the thing: he's only missing extra points. He didn't miss a field goal yet in the last few weeks.
Well, okay, yeah, we're all gonna live in the Andres Carlson experiment this year. He's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. So did Jordan Love. Jordan Love lost the game too. I mean, you're acting like people can't lose a game. Well,
he's good enough.
The Raiders
right
game. Did Jordan Love play well in the Raiders game? Did he play well in the Broncos game?
Carlson has a job. Jordan Love has to literally quarterback a franchise.
Everybody has their own job. Everybody has a job to do, and if they don't do it, they technically lost the game.
Andres Carlson job to Jordan Love.
I'm just
he has
saying,
to walk out and kick
put
a
it
ball.
on him only.
He doesn't have to read a defense, call a play, know the audibles, know the playbook, practice all week.
If you're going to give everybody else the same leash, you have to give the same leash to this guy. He's a rookie. He is a rookie. A rookie.
No.
You can't. Like, what do you want from him? Like, he's supposed to be perfect for the whole year? Every kicker in this league has missed it this year.
He missed.
Brandon Aubrey was the last kicker to not have a missed field goal. So
this
don't
could have been done,
this.
and then you started comparing him to Jordan Love. This could have been
whatever.
Instead of winning,
everybody has
instead of winning.
How did Jordan Love do in that Raiders game? How did he do in that Raiders game? I'm pretty sure you guys were all pissed off for his interceptions that he had.
Well, everybody was.
Don't tell me he didn't lose a game. We gave him the ball back in the Raiders game, and he still threw a pick to to close it out? Didn't he throw a pick in the end zone
One
to end that game?
limb.
Trying to win
One
it. Trying to win it.
limb.
Steelers, he lost it with an interception. Broncos, he threw an interception to end the game. So don't give me this. He literally lost 2 games. Well, so did Jordan Love. So just don't even give me that, Nick Psalm.
I've never
Get
seen
outta
someone stump for a kicker so hard.
I will.
He's
Oh,
really
you
planted his
can't,
leg in that one.
you can't say the same thing about all these young guys and give them all these little breaks that they're young and they don't know what they're doing. And then you can't give this and then say
He's not
we're gonna-
giving him a break.
Brad-
I said I think he.
you
screwed
want him
up.
gone.
No, I don't.
Brad asked in the
Yes,
chat
you do.
if we win the Super Bowl, if Joe Barry will be our coordinator next year. I think honestly, he might have already got himself rehired next year based on what's happening.
He wins this game. If he wins this game, I'm keeping him.
Gets a lock then, but it might be a lock
But
now.
if he,
I don't know.
wait. If he gives up 45 points and we win the game, I'm still firing him. No way in shot. Like if we win 48-45 or something, I'm firing his ass. Like there's no. I'm sorry.
I mean, okay.
45
So
points.
what?
He still
Yeah,
almost gave up 32. He gave up 32 this week. That
I
Cleveland
don't-
defense
I don't-
sucks.
I don't think that. Like, I don't see how this last game was a benefit to Joe Barry by any means. We went up early and almost let them come back to the point where we were sweating at one point. Like, oh my gosh, is this gonna come down to a last couple minutes? And it didn't. So bend
God.
don't break bullshit. But okay, we're done with this.
I'm just
guy.
saying. Oh, you got facts for you. Facts. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Nicholas. Nick, you're such a nerd, dude. Anyway, so
That's usually I would
mean,
Joe.
I just the Joe Barry thing. I don't really. I mean,
It's tough. It's really
he
tough.
didn't do anything. He hasn't done anything the last few weeks to prove to me that he deserves to be back. I will say that
Nothing?
for the most part over the season, I don't feel like we've let up a ton of points. And I've
That's what I'm
stuck on
saying.
that
You're
for a
gonna give him
little
nothing?
bit.
It's never
You're
been
not gonna
about
give him
that
any
though. It's
kind of,
been,
like-
it's been the situational stuff.
But I'm not saying okay, but I don't think that the defense plays for him or
Oh, I
understands
don't know
what he
about
plays
that. Unless
for.
we actually get
I
full
think-
verification on that.
Well, and that's fine. I don't know that. I don't, but I'm going to say I think that
Because this has been like
defense-
7 weeks, bro. Like, I mean, this is all season. So if they were done playing for him, do you think we make the playoffs?
okay, but at some point the players like have to pay for themselves too. Like,
Well,
you
right.
get
I
to
mean,
the
he
point where it's
can't
like,
play
okay,
for
fine.
them.
Like,
He puts the system in place, and they have to play it. Like,
yeah, but the system is kind of junky sometimes.
it is. But it's
Well,
somehow
all
we'll
I'm
find
saying-
out,
all
we'll
I'm-
find
all
out a
I'm
lot
saying-
this week.
All
Yeah,
I'm saying
this is the true test.
He's done he's done his Joe Barry thing again, where he looked a little bit better towards the end of the season. I'm not saying that he's a terrible defensive coordinator. I'm not wanting him back personally. I don't know what the Packers do, but I gotta believe with all the firings and people that we're getting rid of this last week, couple days, there's some legitimate defensive coordinators or
I
options
know,
out there.
I
There
know.
were
It
last
could
year, and they still
easily
didn't
run
do it.
after. I know
If
that's
we
what I'm
beat,
saying.
that's
if we
not
beat
a
the top, if
problem.
we beat the
That's
top 2 seeds, you can bet your ass he's coming back. You can guarantee.
That's what I'm saying, bro. If he beats the 49ers, I'm not trying to put the horse before the cart before the horse, whatever it's called. But like, if you beat the 49ers, your next game is either the Lions that you know, or you have the
Yeah.
Bucks that you get a rematch at, so you don't let Baker Mayfield
They do it
throw us
again.
a perfect
Which
game
no
against
way
you.
that happens again.
So just realize that his next component is obviously inferior. But if you go and play the Lions, that's the top 3 seeds, 1, 2, and 3 right there. How do you not just give it? He might get a head coaching job.
you gotta believe
God, I
like
don't
in this whole
Wins the
scenario of
Super
what's
Bowl, he
going
might.
on. Yeah, in this whole scenario of what's going on, it's kind of bizarro to think that if we beat the hardest team this week, I think the hardest team in the NFC,
I agree.
Right.
In the
100%.
we
NFL.
kind of have to go against the Buccaneers and the Lions. And I'm not trying to take anything away from them.
They
They are
suck.
both playing great, but they're
Nah.
not fearful like the Niners would be
No.
or some of these other teams. So it's kind of weird to be like, yeah, we'd have to beat the Lions to get to the Super Bowl. I think we could do it. We'd have to beat the Bucks, Baker Mayfield led Bucks.
We would find a way
I
to
think-
lose the Lions,
I
though.
think
I feel
Baker-
like it.
I don't know, man.
You,
I mean,
you-
unless
you
shrivel
go
up.
like
They'd
all that
shrivel
exhaust,
up.
like you're like no, I'm just saying like you exhaust all your energy in the Cowboys and 49ers, and then you somehow lay an egg to you know what I'm saying? Like we've done it. The Giants,
that's
the
totally yeah.
Raiders, the Broncos, the Vikings.
We've seen
like
a lot.
we've
We've
done
seen
it.
a lot of wild card teams kind of put everything out there those first couple games, and then they're just burnt come championship
That's
game. Or
my one
Super
worry
Bowl.
is this was such an emotional big win. Like,
I
can you
hope they didn't
follow
exhaust
that up
anything.
against
But
Right.
they're young.
probably the most
But they're young.
physical team in the NFL?
Yes,
But they're
they are
young.
young.
That's the
That's the
difference.
thing.
We don't have the Lewises and the Rodgers and the Cobbs who probably would leave that game and then disappear from the facility for 4 days because they got to, because they were veterans. Whereas this team, I feel like they're young, they're probably spry, they can easily get back into the motion and get ready.
And they
for it.
embrace
Do
it.
you guys hear that? Do you guys hear
Yeah.
that? Do you guys hear it?
What, you farting?
One day, there's not been one game that Matt LaFleur said we didn't have juice or there wasn't energy in a game. Remember how many times we kept hearing that, and we
Yeah.
just weren't prepared. We didn't have enough juice in it. Like with this young roster, you have juice every single day because that's all they have. They're like Energizer bunnies. They're ready to go play the next game like the next day. Like they don't want to wait 5 days to play the next game. They want to go out there, right?
Mhm.
Like obviously they got to heal up and practice whatever. But like these guys, that's the nice thing about this youth is that it's going to be like, hey, look, all right, next one, let's go. Even if it's on the road, fine, whatever. Like before it was like, oh my God, it's taxing. We have to get on the plane and go all the way to San Francisco and then play at night and then have the different time change. Like they don't care about that. Their bodies don't understand time change. Like they're just out there to go win. So that might be a huge factor too.
Yeah, I can see it.
Let's get
Anything
into
else
it.
on the Cowboys? Well, actually, let's just real quick because it is a factor. Do you think Mike McCarthy gets fired? It's one of our own. You know, he's a through and through Packer guy. Like, is he gone?
Jerry
think
Jones
he-
is getting desperate. That's my ultimate factor.
that's-
He wants
yeah.
Joe Barty so
think,
bad.
Yeah, I think that is the more of the truth in the situation because I do think McCarthy's fantastic and I think he's the right coach for that situation. And I think bringing in another coach is just going to set you back a couple years. That being said, yeah, Jones is. I mean, he's starting to look like a pet
The crypt
cemetery
keeper,
project.
man. Yeah,
and
he's
So he's going to start getting crazier, and until one of his little weird disciple kids take over, I mean, I think he's going to do whatever the hell he can to try to get to that.
Problem
one
is,
Super Bowl
who
again.
do you bring in that's better? The grass
That's
isn't
the whole
always
problem
greener.
with all these firings and then these potential quarterback changes. Like if you get rid of Dak or whatever, like who do you have better? Like Kirk Cousins, maybe Justin Fields, maybe like, even with this whole Jalen Hurts thing, like, okay, if you want to get past him, like, what are you going to do after that?
I just
Like,
think that's the
there's
shadow
nothing
of Jerry
better.
Jones.
So
I think
weird.
that I think his presence and looming and meddling in things and being the GM and his expectations. I don't think it matters who the coach is or the QB is. That just messes with the team. And I think that they go into these games super tight because of it. And I don't think until he's gone that will ever change.
Which makes us, again, the fact that I hope Matt LaFleur is here for a very long time. That's what makes us the best job in the world. You don't have meddling owners.
Yeah.
You don't have a meddling GM. Do what you're supposed to do on the field. If you can't, we're firing you. If you can, okay, I'm going to leave you alone. Yeah, we'll have a little structure at the top. We'll all, have conversations, but you don't have to worry about it. Like Jerry Jones is on the media like once a week, and it's just like, why?
Yeah.
You're a GM. I don't see Brian Gutekunst. I see Brian Gutekunst like 4 times a year.
Yeah, did you see the video or the photo after the game? There was like 50.
Those were people waiting for him.
Yeah.
It was like
him
Tom
than
Brady.
Anybody else?
I get
Yeah.
it. It's Dallas. It's a whole different, they're a whole different
Nah.
entity compared to the rest of the NFL. But he created that. Like if he would have just been like, like outside, he had his own GM, and he just, look, I'm going to fit the bill. You just make sure you bring me titles. Like if he would have just done that from the beginning, like, with Jimmy Johnson, right? Exactly, Nick. Like, I don't understand why he thinks he's not the problem. Like, yes,
He's not self-aware.
The product on the field has, obviously been very underwhelming, but you also are part of this. You basically came out in the public, said you're going to go by game for the, for Mike McCarthy and, this team. We're going to assess it by, like, why don't you say that kind of stuff? You're adding on more pressure to guys. I'm not saying that, hey, look, when you do a job, obviously you got to feel like, you got to always look over your shoulder when you're doing your job, right? You never know when they're going to want to replace you. Like, that's just a mentality you should have just as a human being. But to have that in the public and then just say those kind of things, it doesn't make your job easier, right?
No.
So I don't think anybody who takes that job is going to have it easy. But 49ers, San Francisco, here it is. the Bays, the Battle of the Bays.
Battle of
We've
the
had a
Bays.
pretty rough kind of go at it with them, but apparently this is like the tiebreaker. Apparently us, New England, and San Francisco are tied for the most playoff wins in NFL history. So whoever gets this win gets to be the king of the top. So this is a different kind of team. Obviously, like, you know, the Dallas Cowboys, it was a great win. I hope they have that same energy, and I hope they bring that, you know, that funk again into San Francisco. But this is a well-coached team. This is a well-balanced team. They are very strong everywhere. Obviously, their secondary, that's the one thing that, you know, we've kind of mentioned earlier that maybe we can expose, but you're going to have a pass rush, you know, with Chase Young and, you know, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and Greenlaw, like coming in at you. This will be a big test for Jordan Love. Can you see can you see the coverages? Can you see the blitzers? Can you notice what you need to get yourself protected? Like, can you change the protections? Can you audible out of, you know, a bad situation? These are the big things that a first-year quarterback maybe doesn't have it, but we've been seeing this guy time in and time out do it. And I hope that he can keep doing it. But your thoughts on San Francisco, Matt?
Well, the Packers are to the Cowboys what the 49ers are to the Packers. I mean, this is kind of like been our nemesis in the playoffs. They've had our number.
Might I say our rival?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they've knocked us out of some some playoff rivals of some pretty big games. So, you know, but pretty much everybody that was around for those games no longer is on the team. I think there's very few guys that were around for the last time they lost. This is a very young team. Maybe some guys on defense and Aaron Jones, but otherwise this is a team that is comprised of, you know, first and second, third year players that don't know any better. So I'm hoping that works in their favor. But to me, the 49ers are the best team in the NFL. I think they're better than the Ravens if you go head to head. I just think that they do a lot of things really well. No slight to the Ravens, they're good, but I think the Niners are the best team. And the reason being, what do you mean?
Didn't the Ravens just blitz them in San Francisco?
Well, they beat them good, but I still think that what the Niners do is really good. So, but this game to me, man, is like you mentioned before, like Jordan Love, can he notice the blitzes? I think one thing that not one thing, but one of the things he has going for him is he can see those things and he can make the checks at the line. He understands the blitz, the schemes, etc. You know, the Wicks touchdown was a check call, etc. So I feel like very confident in that way, but it's going to be, can you keep Jordan Love upright? Can you have another game against elite pass rushers and not allow pressures or at least minimize them? And can you open enough holes to keep Aaron Jones running? Because if you get behind the sticks and you're running all these 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10s, etc., they're just going to pin their ears back and they're going to send the house or, you know, rush 4 with those guys and drop whoever in the back and try to cover all the passes. So if the Packers want to have success, it starts up front. And I know we say that all the time I don't think it's maybe any truer in this game, you know. And then the other side of the ball, Christian McCaffrey scares the shit out of me, you know, because they use him in so many ways. He's not just a running back. I mean, they flex him out, they throw him the ball, they get him screens, etc. And I don't know what McDuffie's status is going to be because I feel like they need his lateral speed because Devondre Campbell is just falling off a cliff in terms of his speed and his athleticism. I know he's probably playing hurt, and he's gutting it out, so I do give him credit. But it is a bit of a liability when you have so many speedy guys that the Niners just basically get their guys the ball and they turn around and they take a 5-yard pass and turn it into 30 or 40. You know, so those are the things that'll keep me up at night thinking about this game. But as we said throughout the show, this is a young team. It's a team that's playing with house money. It's a team that's playing with a lot of confidence. They're together, and I think when you have that kind of spunk, it keeps you in the game. But they have their work cut out for them, and thankfully Matt LaFleur is a total football nerd, and he's going to have, you know, a really good game plan for these guys to go into it. I just look at Joe Barry and go, what are you going to do, man?
I hope he's watching Ravens tape. Like, just watch that game, please. Like, just do whatever you can. Like, watch the Bengals tape when the Bengals beat them. Like, you know, just do whatever you have to.
Dan Quinn's defense, I don't know the stats, but he's really struggled against Shanahan-led offenses. You know, that's that type of scheme, and this is not that. This is different. Fred Warner is a monster. I mean, he's like one of my NFL, you know, crushes that aren't a Packer player. So you gotta find a way to get around these guys, or as Fred was talking about earlier, you know, game plan to dupe them in and suck them into things and then kind of go the other way. So I really hope that Matty is up to the task. I know he is. You know, this is probably what the second or third time we've seen him in the playoffs with LaFleur, maybe the second time, I don't know, but you know, it's just those lines, man. Those lines are going to be the whole thing. Can we stop and get pressure on Purdy, because they're a different offense when Purdy's running for his life and he's a little bit rattled, and they get him off his mark. And on the flip side, can he keep Jordan Love upright and block for Aaron Jones?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, Nick, is rattling Brock Purdy's like that's what Baltimore did. They were getting after him, and they were basically throwing him around like a rag doll. And yeah, and he was also, a lot of picks. He had 4 picks in that game. We got to be advantageous on those interceptions because Brock Purdy can throw away some balls. And I think, he's not going to beat us with his legs. I think he's kind of like a Jordan Love where he can move around and he doesn't need to use his legs, and scramble everywhere, but he can get out of the pocket. And I think that's going to be the key right there is, can Preston, can Gary, can Luke, can they all contain on the outside and make sure, and whatever you do with Christian McCaffrey, I don't know if you got to keep a spy on him or whatever you have to do, but
Something.
who's ever matched up with him, I feel like it's probably Quay tomorrow or on Saturday. He has to be, the focal point of that team. I'm not saying that, Ayuk and Kittle won't have their fair share of, importance, but Christian McCaffrey is just like Aaron Jones. He's what makes that offense go. And so I think that's going to be key.
Yeah, I think it comes down. I mean, you guys nailed a lot of the same points I was going to get to. I think the McDuffie thing is a big deal. I think he's been playing super well, and I think you have to have him and a Quay Walker when you're talking about who's going to cover Kittle and McCaffrey on every play, right? You have to have somebody who's going to obviously be quick enough. That's not even. Yeah, and then you got Debo and Ayuk, but I mean, I trust our corners for that, right? Let the corners take care of those guys. I think they can do that job. I think they can shut them down good enough. To me, it's always been the Kittle and McCaffrey thing that I'm most afraid of. But yeah, I mean, I think in the trenches, I think our D line is better than their offensive line. I think that our offensive line is playing better than they played all year and potentially the last couple years. So there's a very good, chance that we just outperform that defensive line that everyone is so scared of. And then it's Brock Purdy, man. Like, I get it, right? He's done good. He's played good. He's done all these really fun things to watch. We're all really excited about him, Mr. Irrelevant, blah, blah, blah. But like, it's playoff time now. Like, this is a different level of football. It's a different world. You better bring it because we're not going to not bring it, right? You say, let's watch the Ravens film. The Niners are going to already be saying they're going to watch the Ravens film. So it's a chess. So what are you really doing here? So you almost have to approach it as if you've never approached the Niners before. Yep. And I think what's important for this game specifically is the Niners have never played this team. Not the way this team is right now. Yep. Not with these players at this level, with a quarterback who's playing as good as he is, who's mobile, who's, not someone who's going to stare at the certain players. And I think San Fran has got to be a little concerned about that. This is not the same.
Fred said it. Fred Warner said it today.
Yeah, and you could hear it in Shanahan's voice, right? It wasn't a confidence. It was like I kind of know what LaFleur can do, and we were buddies, and I think he's cooking right now, and I'm a little nervous with it. We've always made that joke about like McVay's so good and Shanahan's so good. Why can't LaFleur get to that level? We might be seeing that unveil right now in front of our eyes. So
he's got to be already there, right?
He's there. So, I mean, it's kind of like I felt with the Dallas game, right? I mean, Dallas has a ton of stars. They're a big name. We're kind of in this weird purgatory in our own minds where we're like, are we good? Do we deserve to be good? Should we be good? We're so young. Does it matter? Like, I'm just in that, but like, it's not, right? We are good. We earned this position in the playoffs. We destroyed America's team, which we're really America's team. And we're going to play a team that we've not been able to beat. And I think damn right we can beat them. 100% beat them. If you run Aaron Jones, and you stick to that, you let Aaron Jones cook, and you get Musgrave and Kraft involved, our offense will beat them 100%. Obviously, the turnover battle is always crucial, right? You win that, you basically always win a game. That's big, and I think that helped a lot. But yeah, if we can get a lucky fumble or something like that to change the momentum, this team just feels like they're the kind of team that can take it and ride it, and we'll be okay. So I'm uber confident against San Fran, which 6 weeks ago I would have told you, hell no, it ain't happening.
We would have been here.
But what I've seen in the last 4 weeks, I don't think there's a team that we can't beat.
No, there's not.
That's what I feel like, man. Like this offense tells you they can't be stopped. This defense tells you, though, all right, can you hold up? Can you play like you did against KC? Like that's the game that I'm looking at. Can you play like you did against KC, how you played against Detroit on the road? Like those are two games that I'm marking up. Like you played so fantastically. Like it was a masterpiece, honestly, because you held a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes to less than 19 points.
Yeah.
Like,
And
like
but
to me,
okay, like that KC team is a shell of what
I
they
know,
used to be.
but it doesn't matter though. That's
mean,
the moment though. Like that's the you
I
didn't let
agree.
a quarterback like that come into your house and just say, "Look, I don't care about my receiver," because like that's the same situation he's going through that Jordan Love is, right? He's throwing to no-name receivers, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
right now, Jordan Love is obviously making the best of it because of his system, I think. And I don't know what the situation with Patrick is, and I don't know, maybe that's an Andy Reid issue or not, but like they're somehow gutting it out. And I think they're still the world champions. They're still going to
Oh
figure out
yeah.
they have pedigree, right?
No
Like they just
respect.
know how to
Yeah.
win games. Even if
Yeah.
it doesn't look pretty anymore, it's still they know how to win games. So I do think that it matters a little bit.
Let me ask you this really quick question before we get into predictions. So historically, traditionally, all those things, when it's two kind of teams that are kind of high flying offenses, right? And I would consider our team to be kind of a high flying offense right now.
Mhm.
And San Fran usually puts up points. They're pretty good. Traditionally, the game ends up being low scoring, right? It's just they're a little afraid to do things.
Right.
Defenses kind of step up a little bit. It ends up being low scoring. I do think that's a big part of coaching, right? I think coaches kind of dial back. They want to wait for the first team to make the mistake and then maybe attack.
1,000,000%.
LaFleur and Shanahan aren't those guys, right? They're not guys that are going to wait for the other one to make a mistake. At least I don't think so. I have a feeling that this is going to be a straight out Wild West gunslinging moment. I think they're going to both come out, guns blazing, books open. I don't see it being one of those games where it's like,
the playbook.
come third quarter, it's like 10-7. What's going to happen? I have a feeling it's going to either be back and forth, right? And it's going to be 35-35 by the start of the third, or it's going to be, somebody's up 35-7, right? I think it's going to be that. I don't see it being like a trickling game. Do you guys see it being like that, or do you see a high scoring fiasco? And then
I don't see it being a trickler. I don't see it being a low scoring game. I just think like for everything you just said, Fred, I believe this game, it's going to take 30 plus to probably win this game. So if we want to jump into predictions here, I'm still confident here. I love what the Packers are doing. I'm never going to pick against these dudes. I mean, I think that they're playing with some kind of different spunk that we haven't seen in a while. Youngest team to ever make the playoffs. I mean, don't tell them that. They don't shy away from that. They own it. That's part of their identity right now. I think that it's aiding them. I think it's giving them, extra powers, if you will, going into some of these games. So I have no problem picking the Packers in this one. I think that, I just think that in these moments, man, toss the records out, toss the narratives out. I just think it comes down to will, heart, passion, etc. And when you're a team that's doubted and everybody's in the media saying, it's better than a bye week to play the Packers, or there's no way, nice story, whatever, but see you next year. I don't think that applies to us. I think that in the end, man, the Packers are gonna pull this one out. I'm going 36-32. Don't tell me how to get to 32. I don't know if that's possible, but 36-32 Packers over the Niners.
Typical.
What do you mean typical? Because we're
what
fans?
do you mean typical? Let's see what your typical is, because we all know what it is.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'll go quick. I'll go quick, and then Nancy can finish it off here. So I mean, I know I just got done saying it. I think that this team 100% can beat them. I think it is going to be a shootout. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple, trickish type plays, right? I think you could see some red zone magic. I think you could, I think someone even brought up an onside kick. I don't know if they get that wild and crazy, but it's possible. I just think it's going to be a really unique and entertaining game. That being said, I think we're the hot team. I think we're the best team in the NFL right now. I think we're playing better than everybody else. I think that I've always said it doesn't matter how you play in week 10, 13, 14, 15, or even 16. It's the team that's getting hot 17 and going into the playoffs, and that was us, 100%. Hot at the right time. We look the best. We look scary. We look to the point where nobody knows what we're doing. They don't have enough tape on it. They don't have enough info on it. And the thing that changes my opinion about everything is that with this team, you talk about not carelessness, but looseness, things like that. This team, for the first time, and I don't remember when, just genuinely looks like they're having fun playing football.
Yeah.
Fun playing football, ladies and gentlemen. That is a thing that used to happen at one point in life.
It's possible.
It's fun. They're having fun. They're joking. They're playing for each other. It seems like they're there, and this is kind of what happens when that happens. Now, you can also get jacked in the mouth, and your whole train can come flying down. That could happen on Sunday, but it's not going to happen this Sunday because the Packers are going to win 41-35. It's going to be an absolute barn burner, baby.
Let's go. 40 Bergs.
Wow.
40 Bergs. I feel like I have not called a 40 burger all year.
Hey,
you did call 40 burger, I think last week, Sanjay, but the other way around. I think that this team, it just continues to ascend. And listen, again, I'll say this. If we win, I will be elated. If we don't win, I will still be elated because the season was a hell of a one.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me a team that the 49ers beat that wasn't the Cowboys that we just slapped? I'll wait.
No,
they haven't. They beat the Eagles that were already in a flux. This team they lost to the Bengals. This team really doesn't have that great of a resume. They're pretty well named on paper, and they definitely whomped on like the teams that are bad. But this team hasn't really beaten anybody huge like we have. So I do think this team is still scary. Do we have enough firepower on offense? I think we do, 100%. I think this team can go toe-to-toe with any kind of team. The defense is the one thing that I'm kind of seeing as like the problem, right? Like that's just Joe Barry. Like Joe Barry, did you just kind of get lucky against Dak and unprepared Mike McCarthy? I don't know. Maybe. Did you just do you even have a control of the team? Maybe this defense is just playing without you, and they're just like, look, we're just going to go ball out. Like
doing
Fred said,
he's doing a setup.
And maybe they're going to go, stop the 49ers. I don't know. But I have us picking to lose. I'm going to lose this game. I think we're going to lose this game. I think it's 41-35. I think it is definitely a shootout. It really is. It definitely is a shootout. But, I do think Joe Barry's defense is the problem. That I don't know if the crowd obviously hates me. Like
I thought you would have learned your lesson after last week. I really thought.
If the Dallas Cowboys would have showed me something like that, they were actually a legitimate football team and not something really bad, I would have felt way better because I would have been like, okay, this was a good team we beat. They didn't look good at all. So now it gets me nervous that the team that we're about to play Saturday is really good and that we just went up against a dog crap team. And then we're
the only thing that yeah, let's just run through this real quick. The only thing that I really like, or I shouldn't say I really like, that I do feel like plays against us is that San Fran did have the extra time. That's the only thing that scares me a little bit, but ultimately
check the song out.
Check the song out, guys. It's definitely really good. Honestly, it really is.
I have not heard it, but I'm totally going to listen to it.
Well, come on. You haven't heard it yet? It's all over. All right. In all honesty, I do hope we win this game, but I just, realistically, as you can
all right,
see,
guys, we want to say thanks for watching the show. I'm Fred. That's Matt. There's some guy hacked into our system. Claims to be a Packer fan. He's also not in the military. Notice he's wearing a lot of military stuff. So he's just a full-on poser. Full-on poser. Poser on all levels. Just kidding. All right, run us out of here. We're already past our time.
Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us. It was a huge night tonight. We had a lot of people in tonight. We really appreciate it. It's kind of crazy that you guys just keep coming. We're not anything great, but
more people are seeing you as a fraud every week.
Yeah, I think they're tuning in.
I got to
tuning in to see the shit show that is you.
But I honestly, if we come in with a loss, I kind of look smart, don't I? So
nope.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll see you next week on Tuesday. Hopefully, it's a victory Monday.
Let's go.
And
bank on it.
You guys enjoy the game. It's a Saturday night. You have nothing to worry about on the next day because it's a Sunday. So just
you should go to church because
that's true. Enjoy, be with family, be with friends, and as always, that's Fred, that's Matt, and we'll see you next time. Go.
Let's go.
Pack.